diverse volunteers play in building stronger community. My name is Oluwa Pelumi Tosin Aino, and I'll be your host for today's event. We have quite a list of interesting agenda for this year's Volunteers Day event, which includes a welcome address, keynote speech, volunteer showcase, panel session, panel session, panel session, interactive session where participants have the opportunity to share their volunteer experience. So you should prepare yourself to have a great time today. Also, to kickstart today's event, we have a special welcome address from Okpayemi Ogundeji, the program manager at the Nigerian Youth SDG Network. Ladies and gentlemen, with a clap innovation, kindly make welcome Okpayemi Ogundeji as she takes the microphone.
Thank you so much, Oluwapelumi. Can anyone hear me? If you can hear me, please drop in the chat box. Okay. Can anyone hear me? All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure having you here. And we're so happy that you could make it out to join us today in celebrating the International Volunteers Day via this online engagements that we are having at the Network of Youth for Sustainable Initiative, which is NG Youth SDGs. I want each and every one of us who are here today to sort of like clap for ourselves for making our time. So let me see your clap, like clap for yourself, appreciate yourself, right? Because I want to believe that you have joined today because you actually want to, learn more, celebrate the impact that volunteers make, and as well, sort of like connect with other like-minded young people like you who are actually contributing to making impacts for social good and also to improving our country, our dear country, Nigeria. I want to believe also that there is someone particular that I know that is outside of Nigeria on the call, one of our speakers, right? And if there are other persons who are outside of Nigeria here on this call, we sincerely appreciate you. Thank you for taking our time to join us today. So before I go on, I would like us as well to sort of like drop in the chat box where we are joining in from today. What's your name? Where are you joining in from? What do you do, right? So you can just say, like when Oluwapelumi introduced me, she said, my name is Okpeyemi Ogundeji. I'm the programs manager at Network of Youth for Sustainable Initiative, that's NG Youth SDG. So you basically know me. So I would like to also know you before I actually go on with what I have to say. So, all right, I can see some people in the comments section. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, wow. Country director, there are amazing and great people in this room today. Victoria, I can see you from Kogi. You're welcome. Welcome. We're so happy to have you join us. So let's keep on dropping it in the chat box. So I've been asked to take a welcome address, and basically what I would just like to say is that you're welcome to International Volunteers Day celebration online session we're having at NG Youth SDGs. We're so thrilled and happy to have you today in our midst, and we're looking forward to awesome conversations, with every one of us. We hope that you actually make this session as engaging and as interactive as possible. So when we ask you questions, when we ask you to share insights, we are looking forward to you sharing your experiences. Don't be shy, freely share with us. It's just for us to rub minds together, learn from one another, and, try to make the landscape of volunteerism in Nigeria more diverse in order to build stronger community. As someone who actually delved into the development sector myself via volunteerism, I know the impact and relevance of volunteerism, and that's why we are here today, to celebrate that and to rub minds together and to learn from one another. We sincerely appreciate all our facilitators who has chosen our time, to join us today. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, and we are looking forward to an amazing time with each and every one of us on this call. Thank you for joining us once again.
All right. Thank you so much, Okpeyemi Ogundeji. Thank you so much for that Welcome, Hadras. Thank you for setting the tone for today's event. Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us from wherever you're joining from, whether in Nigeria or outside the country. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy to have you here. All right, so let's take a step further, deeper into today's event, as we will be having a keynote speech from none other than the Executive Director of the Nigerian Youth SDG Network, in person of Joshua Alade. So please, ladies and gentlemen, with a clap innovation, a virtual clap innovation, kindly drop a virtual clap innovation in the chat box. Let's make welcome a visionary leader, the Executive Director of the Nigerian Youth SDG Network, as he takes the keynote speech. Over to you, Mr. Joshua.
Thank you so much, Oluwapelumi, and good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here today and welcoming you to another International Volunteers Day celebration. Today, I want to salute everyone who has made our time to be here, thanking our speakers for your presence, for all the participants, and also thanking the NGO SDGs team for organizing these events today. As someone who started my journey in the development sector, I know how important volunteering is for learning skills, for meeting new people, for developing yourself, and also being able to achieve your goal as an individual. It's stated that nobody can pay a volunteer. Across the world, the number of hours and time, the number of hours, monies that volunteers contribute to a cause, if it's supposed to be rated, it's going to be the highest revenue ever in the world. So nobody can actually pay the actual worth of a volunteer. And today I am humbly reminded about how NGO SDG started with the passion of young Nigerians who wanted to see or drive accountability when it comes to the Sustainable Development Goals. This organization is rooted in the bedrock of NGO SDGs is actually volunteers. And that's why every year we would always take out time to celebrate them. Our volunteers are really very pivotal to the work that we do as an organization. You'll find them always in the field representing us, attending high-level events, advocating for youth-led change in employment, in civic participation, and also in areas of education. Just name it, policy formulation. You have our young people leading out there, asking that young people be meaningfully engaged in this process. And today, I really want to use this opportunity to highlight something that we have done over the last 1 year. It's a profile of how young people are actually empowering the drive towards systemic change. We recently just produced this document that highlights the work of our amazing volunteers across Nigeria. Young people who are solution makers, who are taking response to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals from their different communities across Nigeria. And I would say that if the comms team can just share a link to that document illustrates the foundation of our organization. Young volunteers like Rihanna, who with her passion for design, she supported NGO SDGs at the foundation with her design work. Volunteers like Dr. Shedrack Akpem, who using his own expertise when it comes to livelihoods and employment, organizing programs to be able to spark young people to develop the needed skills that they need to thrive. We have volunteers like Jeremiah, who is one of our champions, who is also leading change in his own community. And one of the highlights of these people is that after they've worked with us, volunteered with us for a year or two, you find out that they are being recommended for amazing scholarships. They are being recognized across the world. Like one of our volunteers, Blessing Ewa. I remember meeting Blessing Ewa in 2018 in Abuja. Was it 2018 or 2019? And she was just so passionate about creating change, but didn't know how to start. And she signed up for our champions program, which is currently the Youth Activators Lab. And Blessing started supporting some of the work we do in Abuja, organizing events. When COVID happened, Blessing organized a community dialogue in our community. We also had a campaign around decent jobs for young Nigerians. Blessing was instrumental in making that happen in Abuja, working with 30 youth civil society organization. Currently, Blessing's trajectory is amazing. Blessing recently got selected for the Shivning Scholarship for a master's in the United Kingdom. Aside from that, Blessing is also on the board of the Civicus Alliance, which is a global network of civil society organizations. And this is just to tell you how far our volunteers are doing amazing work. Just from humble beginnings, now they are being recognized across on a global stage, basically. So the case study has been shared. We get to meet a lot of amazing people, volunteers just like you, who are doing amazing work across the world just because they had this heart for service. Every one of us here, I really want to encourage you, if you've not started volunteering, please look out for a cause in your community. Look out for another organization that is doing a work that is close to your heart and support the drive. We live in a time whereby people only volunteer for selfish reason, and I want to encourage you to be the difference. Do not volunteer because of what you want to gain, but because of what you want to give. I've realized in my journey that when you are focused on giving, at the end of the day, you get something back. And I'm sure that during the course of this program, you're also going to learn or hear from young people who have volunteered with our organization, and some of them who are volunteering with other organizations to drive sustainable change within their community. As I wrap up this morning, I want to encourage us that be the change that you want to see in the world. If it is to be, it is actually up to you. Nobody's coming to save us. As volunteers, we have a very important call, and that call is to be the difference, to make a difference, and to set the bar for the kind of Nigeria we want to see, for the kind of world we want to see. If you're passionate about social justice, be that difference, be that example. And whenever you see anyone who is doing something amazing, support them, do not criticize them. Every one of us here, we are all volunteers, and it's very important that we take that step together towards progress. Thank you all so much, and I wish you the best of the deliberation today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Joshua. I mean, that was an incredible keynote address, speaking to the NG's, the SDGs case study. And I want us to also share in the chat box, what would you say were the key highlights from his keynote address? And one of the things that he also mentioned is the fact that volunteers cannot be paid. I mean, if you want to quantify the amount of work that you're doing as a volunteer, it's going to be running to trillions, and not just in Naira, but trillions of dollars. I can see Diko saying, thanks so much, Mr. Joshua, for an insightful session. Yes, it was absolutely insightful. And right about now, we'll actually be going into our panel session. So just like our other MC also shared, we're also having an insightful panel session, and it's going to be a very, very exciting one, speaking to volunteerism. And if we look at even the theme for the event, diverse volunteers and inclusive community. So as a volunteer, what can you actually do to build an inclusive community? All of these things are important. All of these things are essential. I would be listening to development practitioners, speakers from Amnesty International, Leap Africa, One Campaign, and even NGO SDGs. So I want you to tune in. Don't leave this Zoom call. Like, don't leave this Zoom. And if you are watching via YouTube, do not drop your phone or your laptop. It's going to be absolutely interesting. So right about now, I'd actually be sharing with us what our speakers are for today. So our first speaker is Taufik Ido Abdikarim. So he is a passionate volunteer and community builder, and he's also an SDGs advocate, a history and international studies degree from the University of Ilorin. He also champions climate action, reduced inequality, peace and justice, and strong institutions. Taufik also holds leadership roles, including Justice of the Students' Union, Judicial Council, and is also the Vice President of Wikimedia Fan Club. In addition, as a yearly network member and Youth Activators Lab Associate, he empowers youth in the social development space, driving sustainable change and fostering positive impact. So I want us to put in the chat box our excitement as our speaker is getting ready to share his insights with us. Now, moving on to our next speaker for the day, she is Miss Anne Chukwunike. I just hope I did not damage that name right now. But yeah, she's a strong and a strategic communications professional with over 5 years of experience in the development sector. She also holds a master's degree in communication and language arts, and she has also worked on youth empowerment, women's political participation, as well as child development. Currently, she works as the Activism and Growth Assistant at Amnesty International Nigeria. She leads impactful human rights campaigns using digital marketing and grassroots engagement. She is also a published co-author on gender bias. She's also passionate about fostering social change through strategic communication, and she has a can-do mindset. So yeah, let's put it in the comment section. Yes, I can see some clapping emojis. Okay. So now moving on to our next speaker, who is Ms. Africana Unjiru. She is the campaigns and advocacy manager at One, where she's focusing on African Union advocacy for health, climate, and finance reform. She also advances inclusive governance and transparency in global finance, and she also co-leads the One Campaigns program, training young leaders in advocacy and mobilization. Previously, she supported policy initiatives at One, UNODC, and Kenya's Attorney General's office. She's also a lawyer and certified mediator. Ms. Africana holds a degree in international relations and law, and she's passionate about the arts. She believes in its power to transcend barriers. Now, moving on to our last speaker for today, she is Ms. Joy Godwin. So she is a development practitioner with nearly 8 years of experience empowering African youth through education, leadership, and governance programs. At Sleep Africa, she leads initiatives in education, employability, entrepreneurship, and well-being. With her expertise in youth development and grant management, she actually designs inclusive spaces for young people in peace and conflict studies, and also other spaces that will enable young people to lead and thrive. She serves as a nonprofit board, and she's also a BSO alumna. So I want us to put in the chat box our excitement. And before I leave, I would also be speaking to our panel moderator for today. So he would be moderating the panel session, and he is no other person than Mr. Abubakar Sani Abdullahi. He is the founder of the Life We Deserve Foundation, and he is dedicated to youth empowerment, climate action, and community development in Nigeria. As a passionate advocate for the SDGs, he has mobilized communities to tackle climate change and foster green entrepreneurship. Mr. Abubakar has also mentored over 1,000 youths, equipping them with business and financial skills, and he also holds prestigious fellowships like climate and leadership, as well as the Jim Leach MasterCard Foundation. So I want us to put in the chat box. I know I can see our emojis, but I want to see more. So right now, I'll be passing the mic to our panel moderator, Abubakar Sani, as he leads the panel session.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bolwatife. Can you please confirm, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Right, thank you very much. I am very happy and honored to be the moderator of this great panel. And yeah, without further ado, I will quickly begin this panel because of time. So our first speaker, or our first panelist, on the list is Mr. Taufik. Mr. Taufik, are you with us? Can you please confirm? Hello, Mr. Taufik, are you there?
Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Taufik. So I'll start with you. And yes, so I know as a Youth Activators Lab Associate with NGO SDGs, you have had the opportunity to work with individuals from diverse backgrounds. What will you say are effective strategies that can be employed to inspire and equip diverse range of youth to engage in volunteerism and contribute to building inclusive and sustainable communities?
All right. Thank you very much for that wonderful question. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really glad speaking with young leaders and people in social development space who will be driving the positive change we yearn. So firstly, I'll start with the fact that it is very much important that we would look towards building a community, because as we all know, and the theme for this year, International Youth Day, revolves around diversity and inclusion. So it's very much important. Can you hear me?
Yes, Taufik. Please go on. We can hear you.
All right. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So it's very much important we work on community building and also community development first, because there's a need for collaborative efforts among diverse and different youths. So we need to come up together and build a community and network of interest-minded people and growth-minded people in our community. That's the very much important thing, because if we get it wrong, then we would most likely be unable to achieve anything. Yeah. So and moving forward, after we build the community, there's we'll have leadership within the community. So another thing that is very much important that could help strive diverse youths towards making positive impact is through leadership. And I do say something, as a leader, you need to take cognizance of your followers, talking about the fact that you shouldn't be authoritarian. Give them listening ear. Don't be controlling them, And one of my favorite quotes is from John C. Maxwell that says, "A leader is someone that knows the way, goes the way, and show the way. Show them the way, and take them through the way. Don't just keep controlling, and because it will build the community, and the impact you probably want to make will not be felt. Also, there's a need for individual commitments. You need to be passionate and committed about whatsoever you are doing. The passion and the commitments would keep making the efforts grow, and you keep striving towards making positive impact. Because as the director of the NG Youth SDG has rightly said, no amount can be used to quantify the work that volunteers do. And to be very much honest, as a volunteer, in most cases, you would need to sacrifice and probably do so many so-called free, or how would I put it, services, So you need to be committed and passionate about whatsoever you are doing. Because if you are not committed and passionate, at some point you might want to get derailed from the line. because the purpose should not be about the monetary value, but rather the impact you are making. So also, it's very much important we have a benchmark standards. You know, if you have a community, you need to have a benchmark standard that these are the standards of whatsoever you want to achieve, and these are the way we actually want to do it. So, and also, I would like to also mention the fact that we need to give credit to people. Like, whosoever is doing something, let them know you are doing well, but you can actually improve in things like this. Because in most cases, one of the things that actually sort of ruin community is the fact that maybe the leaders always so-called collect the credit for whatsoever others are doing. So in that case, people might not be really motivated towards consistently working on things like that. And lastly, I'll just say you need to be transparent, straightforward, and be accountable. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. Find the opportunity to grow. Those are the strategies. You need to grow. If you are growing, then the growth mindset will keep you moving and keep you thriving towards making a positive impact.
Hi, Abubakar, you are muted.
Can you hear me now? Thank you very much.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taufik. And yeah, so moving to the next question that I have for you. So volunteerism brings people from different cultures and communities together. Can you share an example from your work within NG Youth SDGs where having a diverse group made a project or initiative more successful?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. I could remember one of the projects we worked on was on policy brief on youth reform. You know, during our work, because the policy brief should be all encompassing, and as we all know that we have different culture, tribes, and you know, what have you in Nigeria. So during our work, because of the diverse youths, you know, people that have so many experiences. You know, for instance, I'm from Ondo State, although at a point I stay in Kwara State for my studies. You know, the experiences of whatsoever is going on in Kwara State or in Ondo State might be different from whatsoever is happening in maybe some other part of the north or the south or the southeast. But if you come together as a youth, diverse youth, to bring different ideas, and it's make the work more simpler. You know, at some point, it's really make the work simpler because the policy brief, we were able to touch all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, most especially the 6th geopolitical zone. So things like that are the efforts that you can actually gain through getting diversity together. There are so many things that you can do because it's a known fact that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far and further, you need to go with people because you really can't do it alone.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Taufik. So I will quickly move to Ms. Anne. Please, can you confirm if you can hear me and if you are around? Mrs. Anne Chukwuemeke, are you there?
Hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
Yes, thank you very much for coming, Mrs. Anne. So, part of your experience, you co-authored research on gender bias in media, which highlight critical issues of representation. How can volunteerism challenge entrenched biases, particularly in media and public spaces, to create a more equitable and inclusive society?
Okay. So thank you very much, Abubakar. I know because you're asking my surname is Chukwuemeke. So yeah, you were asking me other times, so just to correct that. Okay. To say that, I want to say that, so yeah, my background has always been in communications. And when we started this conversation, when Mr. Joshua was saying something, he said, you have to be passionate about something, about a course. And that's what would inspire you, to volunteer for a course you're actually interested in. So I would say that I've always been quite interested in the media space. If anybody would ask me, I would probably think that I would end up as a broadcaster by now. But in my final year, that was in 2016, and there was a course I took. I was more or less majoring in broadcasting, but there was this course I took that has to do with development communications. And I remember every Monday morning, 8 a.m. class, we were always talking about Nigerians' problem, and it kept on piling up. For me, I felt quite disturbed because, imagine from a Sunday when you had a restful day, and then on Monday when you come to class, you are listening to Nigeria's problem. We're talking about the MDGs and how we're transitioning into the SDGs at that point. And the problem is still persistent. I remember, asking a question, and also remember the fact that all through my undergraduate, I was volunteering at the campus radio station at that time. And I remember asking a question, and the question was, we keep on talking about this problem. What's the solution? I also remember my lecturer telling me, well, I think the owners realized that, it's now on you or individuals who are passionate about this class, to find what they're passionate about, to find their niche and also find solutions to that. For me, that actually inspired me and also inspired in terms of, what I was interested in writing in terms of, media and gender representation. And I think at that point also was when I was also nominated for my campus radio station to go for an event. So we had to apply, and then I was selected to go for one Malala's mini project to be implemented in particular state. I remember having a strategy written, a communication strategy of how we are going to implement the child rights bill at that point. So just like a story, a background of what really transpired and how I feel volunteerism can actually challenges biases that we have. So the question I have is, what are the biases that we see in our society? What are the stereotypes that are evident in our society? Because the truth is, there will be biases whether in the public space, but also in our personal space, we do have biases, right? We do have some stereotypes that we want to, challenge, and it depends on that individual to take up that mantle to want to challenge this. So I feel one thing is that volunteerism has a way of making sure that the space which has been excluded becomes, included for individuals or for communities that you want them to be included in the conversation. So in terms of that, for when you volunteer, you're volunteering because there is a particular solution or a change that you want to see, but it depends on you can. The problems are enormous. There are a lot, but you just need to find that particular, would I say, something that inspires you so that you don't burn out. Even when you are tired, you still find a reason to keep on pushing, right? So for me, I feel volunteerism has a way of, making sure that the space that was once excluded becomes, makes you more included and brings, people into that conversation. Apart from that, I think I would also want to say that it's also about you being intentional about what you want or your track record. I feel that the keynote speech actually, opened up the whole conversation about how volunteerism can actually, challenge these biases. Because whether or not we know, the concept of volunteerism will never end, because I don't know, it's live. There'll be, different things or different, issues that come up, and it will require individuals to, want to take part in and get involved in. So it's about you finding out what you are quite passionate about. That's one thing I think, and also bearing in mind the fact that what you are doing as a volunteer, when you get into the space, you are also, you may think that you're just there just because you want to create that change for yourself, or you want to see that solution happen because you are there. You don't know you don't know other persons who are looking behind you, who also want to get involved in what you are doing. So for me, I would say that how volunteerism to actually challenge the biases that we see is about, as an individual, finding what you want to challenge, or what you want to see change, what change you want to see happen over time. It can happen overnight, but being consistent about it, that's what it is. Thank you. I hope I've been able to answer that question. Thanks. You're muted.
Again. Oh my goodness, so sorry about that. So let's quickly continue. So your work at Amnesty International Nigeria emphasizes grassroots engagement. What role does youth volunteerism play in addressing systemic inequalities? And how can we engage or ensure these programs are inclusive and equitable for underrepresented groups across Nigeria? You are muted.
Oh, wow. Happened to me
Yeah.
too. All right. So yeah, question is, so what role would you do or play in ensuring in equity and also accessibility? That's what the question is. Yeah. So in my role as the activism and growth person for Amnesty International, most of my work, would I say over 50% of my work has to do with working with young persons. Of course, we know that the population of in just the country itself, Nigeria itself, the population has quite a number of youth, right? And whether or not I would like it, it's actually the youth that will definitely push our work. But I've also come to realize that as much as we are all about, making the platform or the organization accessible, and top of our head, we have our strategic goals to do. We have this particular vision that we need to conclude maybe within, what are your strategic goals? What are your strategic goals are in 5 years? I've also come to realize one thing is that we are working for the youth, but at the same time, it's also about ensuring that these youth are, brought into the space, but also hear them. Sometimes people say that the conversation about human rights, when we've had this dialogue, people say it's more like the older generations who are quite interested in the human rights space. But I've come to realize that, well, it's not it. It's also about understanding the roles that the youth can actually play and what they want to see happen. So in my role as the activism and growth assistant, we have created platforms where we have asked, youth who we call them our supporters, what they want to do in terms of our overall goal, for instance, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and when it comes to promoting gender rights and all. So we have individuals who lead this particular, initiative at the grassroots level. And that way, Amnesty is in Abuja. They probably don't have offices in other states. So it's more like our young persons or the supporters are the ones who are taking out these actions and initiatives at the local level. However, we try as much as possible not to, box them or box their ideas and say, oh, it has to fit into this. This is what I have and this is what it's going to do. It's also about listening to, the supporters or the young persons who are leading these initiatives at the local level. So it's one thing to create access, but it's also another thing to design a program that you feel is that I know or it's sustainable, such that young persons are interested in leading because they feel part or included in the conversation. It's not as if you are the one who created it from the top and you expect them to it's more like a top-down approach, but you expect them to implement that. It's about bringing them to the table and having that conversation in the first place and building like a toolkit or a guide of how they want to implement it. I remember I think in like 2 weeks, we had this program called Rights for Rights, where we were championing the rights of, individuals whose rights have been violated or abused or are locked up in one place or another across the country. We had across the different parts of the country in 30 states, we had local communities or individuals who they brought their idea. We said, oh, this is the program we want to do, but then how do you want to implement it and garner the support of other individuals who will sign petitions and also, take action and, mount pressure on government for this to happen? So different creative ideas came up. So I've come to realize that it's about creating, it's not about creating access or making it equitable, but it's also designing something that is more inclusive and bringing individuals in the conversation. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Ms. Anne. Yeah, so let's quickly move to Ms. Africana. Can you please confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks, Annie.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Africana. So let's continue with you. Your work spans diverse sectors such as health, climate advocacy, and global finance reform, focusing on initiative or inclusive governance structures. How can volunteer-driven initiatives effectively incorporate diverse voices and perspective to influence policy and decision-making processes that foster truly inclusive communities?
Great. It's a lengthy question. Thanks, Sunny, for that. And greetings from Nairobi. At the One Campaign, we work to mobilize and empower citizens to be able to actually ask their governments to be accountable for the resources that they have, and for the policies that they are implementing. And of course, with that, similar to what Anne was mentioning about the organization, we also mobilize supporters, who we call One Supporters and also One Champions, a program that I help manage, by empowering them in skills, in advocacy and the like. But to your question, how do you lend legitimacy or get to incorporate diverse voices and also influence policy at the same time? It needs you to be smart in your planning. In as much as volunteers come from a place where they're being scrappy and they're trying to put things together with the meager resources that we have or the talents that we have to identify the goals that you have and ensure that it's clear for everyone, including other stakeholders that might be interested, whether from the grassroots level, and even other stakeholders like NGOs that might be interested in partnering with you. And you have to also try to figure out a way to simplify language of what you're trying to communicate that you want to change. In doing that, by clarifying the goal, you also have to, be realistic in terms of the journey of change. It depends on the scale of your campaign or, the thing that you want to make some change in your community. Some things can be very quick to change. You just lobby communally and you're able to effect change. But some can be really, really large and require a lot of people to come on board with you so that you can have a bit more impact. So you have to be very clear and have a bit of, manage your expectations so that you're able to also bring on board more people. And once you have those things clear, now you can invite people, talk about it, invite others. We have a proliferation of so many youth organizations, other initiatives, even within our own localities that do similar things or even closely affiliated activities. Tap into them. Is it a community, church community organization that's close to you that you can also tap into? Is there a local NGO that you think can help support? Are there artists who can help lend a voice? You have to really be clear and open and invite people to actually also co-build with you the journey of that kind of advocacy. Part of the people that you can bring on board onto your journey include government officials. Remarkably, you need to identify people who can advocate for you, people who are affiliated and a bit more easy to influence and can influence others so that they can influence for you. You might not have all the power to influence other people to effect change, but you can definitely rope in people who can do that. And of course, that means that you are being smart from the get-go in terms of analyzing who your stakeholders are. And then lastly, I would say, make sure you also report back the small steps. It's very easy to lose hope, to lose a morale, but if you're able to look back at the small steps that you've done, whether it's holding a community event, being able to send a letter to your local government official, the small steps, report back and also credit others who have contributed to your journey. That will help you gain momentum for future goals. I can share much more, but I hope I haven't I've been clear on that.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Africana. So, given your belief in the power of art to areas, how can volunteer programs leverage visual and performing arts to promote diversity? Can you share an example or examples of how this approach has been impactful in your work or beyond?
Mm-hmm. Yes, just to repeat the question for those listening, you're asking about how to utilize visual and performing arts in order to ensure that we have a sense of belonging and roping more people.
Yes, exactly.
Art has a way of, communicating without having to be too complex. It can just be in a song and you might not even understand the language, but you you get a feel, whether it's through visuals, whether it's through the tone and the melody of a song, for instance, whether it's through the tone of a poet. And so finding creative ways to channel these things in terms of your goals and the kind of initiatives that you have is very important. Thankfully, we have social media to also channel and spread to more people and reach out to more people. At one of the things that we really tag to, and which is why I love working at One as well, is the power of art and you know, being able to communicate in simple ways, but being able to galvanize other people. In the past, we've had artists come together in volunteering capacity as well, because they don't expect anything in return, singing together around different causes. For instance, we had a agriculture campaign asking youth to join in and venture into agriculture, and also asking the AU, the African Union, to focus on youth empowerment, especially in agriculture, and ensuring that they are a focus. And that culminated in a song called Cocoa na Chocolate. I don't know if you guys know that song. I'll put in the links here so that you can be able to listen to. We had a gender equality campaign called Poverty is Sexist, and we had a song, also an African artist collaboration with female artists called Strong Girl. And most recently, we also had another song called for COVID-19 called Stand Together, where we're able to rally people and share a message of solidarity, and at the same time accompany the messages that we have for our leaders to prioritize healthcare. Locally, I think particularly for Nigeria, there are campaigns that One has carried forward, most notably the Make Nigeria Stronger, where we were asking for the government to be a bit more accountable in the financing for basic healthcare provision, and that culminated in the president signing 1% provision in the budget for that. And we're still continuing to follow up on how exactly that is utilized locally in the different states. But in the lead up to that, we had artists come on board. We were able to utilize Big Brother Nigeria coming on board as a partner, and even having a video with artists like Yemi Alade, people like Desmond Elliott and the like, lending their voice to this kind of campaigns. This is at a grand scale, but locally, you can also do something. We have people who are talented in very, very many fronts. If you're having a town hall meeting or a community meeting, why don't you have some artists be able to communicate in a different way? Why don't you have a gallery showcasing art, conveying the different issues that you want to highlight? It lends a different way of communicating. Actually, people are actually more open to participating and joining you, as opposed to, for instance, sitting down and having some lengthy policy discussions with people who are trying to pay attention with a short time span. So think of creative ways to do that, and also ensure that there's a value exchange. Recognize the work of artists. You can bring them on board as speakers in future to talk about the work that they did and how it impacted their community, and how that has been a huge deal for them. Yeah, so figuring out value add as well in exchange is very important.
Thank you very, very, very much, Ms. Africana. So I really learned a lot from what you said. So moving forward, we have Ms. Joy Godwin, who is going to be our next panelist. So Ms. Joy Godwin, can you please confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, I can. I hope you can hear me and you can see me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you very
Awesome,
much.
thanks.
Yeah, so Ms. Joy, so having managed a multi-country grant and worked across the regions, what have you found effective for ensuring that volunteer-driven initiative embrace it? Or should I come again?
Yes, please. Your network is breaking a bit. Or is it my network? I'm not sure.
Yes, we've lost him a bit there.
Ah, okay. Oh, okay. I guess he'll be back in shortly. Okay.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. So let me come again. So having managed a multi-country grant and worked across diverse regions, what strategies have you found effective and for ensuring that volunteer-driven initiatives embrace cultural and demographic diversity to foster inclusive communities?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Abubakar. Yeah, so key strategies. I think before I jump right in the strategies, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you're joining from. And this is me extending shout outs to every panelist, every member of the panel that has spoken already. Well done. So just to also highlight that I think I volunteered for about 4 years before I actually got a job within the nonprofit space. So I'm going to tell you my story later. But well, anyway, so in terms of strategies, I think key things that has worked out for us across regions is, first of all, realizing that the interventions we're trying to put out, they're for humans and they're human-driven. And so if they're human-driven, it's important to ensure that the humans that we're serving and the humans we're serving with are co-creating with us, right? So they are part of the decision makers with us. So volunteers need to feel a sense of ownership versus when we say, oh, we're going to community for outreach, come join us as volunteers, and they just show up, yay, do some stuff. But we're actually saying, we're going to a community, we want to do X, Y, Z. What are your thoughts? Or do you think that this is what the community needs? You could have volunteers who are actually there and they're also lending their voice to say, oh, no, we think you should do it like this. And you could also ask them for cues. Do we go to so person? Who do we seek permission from? And the volunteers are the ones saying, go to so leader, go to so leader. They feel like they're part of that process when they're involved in decision making, right? So this is basically like in very fine lingua, human-centered design, right? So where we just bring them into the conversation in terms of what we're doing. I think another thing that has worked with us is another fine lingua, community of practice or virtual community of practice, basically WhatsApp, Telegram groups, that's what it is. Right. So having those sort of platforms, and some of them can be community-based community of practice. So in physical spaces where they have opportunities to meet, where you just create room for them to meet from time to time. They're not just meeting only when there's an outreach, but there's an opportunity for us to meet, discuss what's going on where you are, what's happening where you are. We found this very useful, especially when we worked with teachers across, we have this intervention where we work with teachers as volunteers across 5 African countries. So it was interesting to see that what's obtainable in Ghana might not necessarily be obtainable in Uganda, might not necessarily be obtainable in Kenya. But at the same time, it was interesting to see that there were some commonalities, right? So especially during COVID, we're just checking in on them. What's happening with you? What's happening with you? And they could easily empathize with each other, realizing that the same thing happening in Kenya was also happening in Ethiopia, and it was also happening in Malawi. So it was like, oh, okay, so I don't have to think that mine is different. So those kind of rooms, those kind of opportunities allow them to really, okay, we get to see our similarities, see our differences, and better appreciate ourselves. So it's important that those WhatsApp groups are kept alive. People are always talking, not just having a WhatsApp group where we only post, we're going on outreach on Saturday, come out on Saturday. And that's the only thing that happens there. No, you don't keep it alive when you do that. So, and the thing is, you could also put ownership in their hands, which takes us back to point 1 in terms of decision making. So again, as organizations, sometimes we can get choked with the work that you might not have ample time for the WhatsApp group. Delegate the volunteers to lead. So you're the lead for the month. Come up with activities for us this month. What exciting things do we discuss this month? It will interest you how they would keep the place bubbling with or without you, and it just keeps that flame going. I think another thing would be mentorship. Mentorship in this sense might not even be, I know most times when we think about mentorship, And it's fine, right? Where we have more experienced people mentor people, and that's fine. But I'm even thinking about it from the lens of having our volunteers mentor each other as peer mentors, or even mentor younger ones. It's interesting the lessons that happen in the course of doing that. Many of them begin to really see themselves in terms of what they can offer to others just by even mentoring someone else or being an accountability partner to someone else. So those sort of opportunities allow them feel like, I think I'm part of something big going on here. If you have, so for instance, you have a network of volunteers who are fresh out of school, tertiary institution, but then you do have an intervention that reaches out to out of school youth or secondary school students. Let your volunteers serve as mentors. They do have something already. They've gone through secondary school, they've gone through tertiary, they definitely have something to pass on. So they begin to build that capacity and really begin to build the confidence, So I think that those are things that makes it really, it brings about the inclusivity in that. It brings about their perspective in that as well. It keeps them going on that as well. It just keeps the joy alive for them. And for many of them, it's in the course of even mentoring their peers or mentoring younger ones that they begin to find more and more what their purpose is. They begin to say to themselves, oh, I think that this is what I want to do. Oh, I want to try this. I want to try that. So yes, those kind of avenues really just give them room for more growth. So yeah, those are the key strategies, we have tried to employ on our own end.
Exactly. Thank you very much with that response, Ms. Joy. So as someone passionate about youth leadership and active citizenship, how can volunteerism be a catalyst for empowering young people to take charge of social issues and drive the creation of more innovative, equitable, and inclusive societies?
Fantastic. Now, so this is where my story can come in. So fresh out of school, I knew I wanted to work within. I didn't know the name at the time. This was 2012. I didn't know the name per se, but I knew I wanted to do something for people in communities, and then it was even more specific to girls who had been sexually abused. And so during my national youth service, for those of us who are Nigerians, I started researching on organizations doing things around sexual reproductive, sexual abuse or whatever. And then I found one in Lagos, but I was in Abuja. I then called the Lagos office to say, I want to volunteer. What do I do? And she says, okay, I have another partner in Abuja. Reach out to her. Here's her number. And I got in touch with that one. And I started volunteering with her. I did that. And then next thing, got an opportunity to volunteer somewhere else. And I was deployed to another state, Lagos, first time being in Lagos, all the way in Ikorodu, away from parents, away from loved ones. But it was such a fine experience. But then again, fast forward again, I moved to another city for my postgraduate degree. And then I wanted to volunteer. It got to a point where I was broke. Anyways, I had to put food on my table, but I still wanted to volunteer. So I got opportunities to work with, tiny bits of organizations, some of them engineering firms. But my eyes were still on the fact that I wanted to gain access into this space. And I knew that the experience was important. So what this did for me was, in the course of all of this volunteering experience, so I left school thinking that I just wanted to work with girls who had been sexually abused. Next thing, I got another opportunity that made me volunteer with young people on governance issues. And I started understanding how policy affects certain things. And then I got another opportunity to volunteer with youth on peace building. And I began to see how all of this really just intertwines. So all in all, what I'm trying to say is volunteering affords us that exposure into the issues that are common within our society or that are affecting our societies. When you don't volunteer, you might not know as much. You just stay behind your doors and think that this is the only problem you know, and that's what the problem is. That's what the problem is. But you get into communities and it will amaze you, the kind of things that you see. On one of our interventions at Leap Africa, we work with students in private schools. So they're from more privileged backgrounds. But what we do is get them to implement projects in communities they typically would not get into.
So at the initial stage of that project, we asked, a couple of them, what do you think is a problem within the society? And then we had one of them saying, oh, there's no, we have potholes on our way to school. We're just wondering, potholes is your problem, really? But then by the time they got into that community, the community is called Makoko in Lagos. That community, people live on water. And, in the midst of that, these kids could not believe it. Some of them were so irritated, they didn't want to get into it. Some others empathized with others, like, what exactly is going on here? So volunteering really just exposes people to the society or the problems within the society. But beyond that, also helps them build capacity to solve those problems. So you gain problem-solving skills in the course of all of that. And problem-solving skills are things that you use, it's a soft skill. So across any sector, you definitely apply problem solving. And hey, people need problem solvers. Guess what? AI cannot solve our problems. As much as you feel like, oh, AI is coming, trying to erode our work, blah, blah, blah. AI cannot take the place of problem solving. You need human minds there. So you'll still be very relevant with problem solving skills. Another thing I would say is volunteering also affords people room for self-awareness and self-confidence. So many times fresh out of school, there's that thing of, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I think very few, maybe a very little percentage are so sure that this is what I want to do, this is what I'm cut out for. Many times it's like, what do I want to do? It feels like there's so much. Where do I go to? Where do I start from? But volunteering gives you that room to begin to see, who am I? What am I here for? What can I do? What am I good at? It does that even for students in secondary school. It's amazing on some of our secondary school interventions when they implement projects and they're already beginning to think, oh, Auntie, I think I want to do this. Oh, Auntie, I think it's interesting. How much more for someone who is now a graduate and trying to fully transition into the world of work? So yes, those are key things that I would say volunteering does for us. Plus, it helps us build empathy. So we're not just within our cocoons thinking that all is well with the world. Yeah, we step out and see what's more, even beyond our communities, and really see how to support each other. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you very, very much, Ms. Joy. I really want to continue this, but time is against us. And yeah, we only have 1 minute, but I'll give one single chance for question, and one person will be like will ask a question for all of you. So if somebody have like a very short question to ask our panelists, please raise up your hand and let's have your question. Quickly, please. Okay, I think there's no question, and your input are well understandable, and thank you very, very much for your time. And with this, we are done with the session or the panelist session, and thank you very much for your time and your insight. Thank you very much, and I'll hand the mic to Mrs. Bolu.
All right, thank you. So I need to confirm, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you to
Is this question?
No, it is not a question, Abubakar. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much, Abubakar. Thank you to our panelists for such a thought-provoking discussion. It was really enlightening and insightful at the same time. I gained a whole lot of things, and I know that you also were able to pen down some things in your books, that you are going to be moving forward. So in light of that, I'd like to ask us to drop in the chat box 1 or 2 things that you have gained from the panel session. What is that 1 thing or 2 things that you have been able to pick from what the panelists have said that you are going to be running with moving forward? Kindly drop that in the chat box before we move ahead to the next thing on our agenda. All right, let's keep it coming. Kindly drop it in the chat box. 1 or 2 things that you have gained from the panel session? Okay, Blessing says volunteering avoids people room for self-development. All right, let's keep it coming, please. Let's keep it coming. One or two things, okay? For self-development and awareness. Okay, from Clement, we have volunteerism makes you understand your capacity. Thank you so much, Clement. All right, let's keep it coming. What have you gained? It's been an awesome session, you know, sharing stories and insights from their expertise. Okay, from Joseph, we have self-awareness and confidence are necessary. From Alice, we have volunteering builds our confidence. And from Salome, volunteering helps in harnessing your skills. Thank you so much. Newton says volunteering gives us an opportunity to make an impact and have first-hand experience while doing that. It shows we all have been able to gain one or two things from this panel session. Once again, thank you to our wholesome and well-rounded panelists. Thank you for sharing your expertise and experiences with us. We really do appreciate it. So moving on to our next agenda. The next thing we have on our agenda for today's program is the volunteer showcase, which will be handled by Boluwatife Ajayi, the Senior Programs Associate at the Nigerian Youth SDG Network. This session is meant to spotlight volunteers, champions, Nigerian Youth SDG champions who have significantly, you know, contribute to national development within the country. So right about now, I'd like to hand over to Boluwatife Ajayi to take over as she leads us in the volunteer showcase. Kindly sit back and, you know, pay attention as we thank you on this session. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Oluwapelumi. Thanks so much, everyone, for still, staying back to listen to everything that our panelists have had to say. I mean, what, I'm about to say right now is something that our executive director also mentioned during his keynote address. He spoke to the Champions case study and, highlighting the Youth Activators Lab, which is a leadership capacity development program that we run currently at the Network of Youth for Sustainable Initiative. So it's a one-year program, and young people within the ages of 18 to 29 have the capacity to be able to, learn a lot of things, build their knowledge, build their capacity. And right now, I'll be sharing the link to the case study as well in the chat box. So you're able to download and read about 15 young people that have gone through our program, and you get to see how being on the program has been able to enlarge their capacity. Basically, highlighting someone like Chinedu, he spoke about how being a part of the Decent Work project under the Champions program, it's something that, helped him to be able to refine his communication skills. He was able to coordinate people, coordinate resources. And I think that these are skills that are very, very important, especially if you look at the corporate world, even as a volunteer. So one of our speakers too, I think this was Ms. Joy, she was speaking to how being a volunteer helps you to build your self-development. And it's so important because on the program, we're looking at how can you address the root cause of issues using systems thinking, looking at the knowledge that you have, how can you actually address issues? In Nigeria, we say that we have a lot of problems, unemployment, bad governance, and all of these things. But then it's not just sitting back and complaining, but asking yourself, how can I take action? What can I do? And it's not just about what can I do? Do I have the knowledge to carry out the action that I want to take? So this is one of the things that we also do on the Youth Activators Lab program. And I'm sure that as a volunteer, you'll also be able to have the opportunity to be able to, work on different projects, addressing social issues in your communities and all of these things. And I just want you to basically keep doing that. Our executive director, Joshua Alade, mentioned that you cannot actually pay a volunteer. And this is true. So a lot of times you'd see that, some people that are volunteering could start to get tired, that, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Different challenges. And I think that it's all part of the process. It's all part of the journey. So whatever it is that you are doing as a volunteer, just keep going, just keep trying to, address the social problem that is affecting your community and even the world at large. And looking at the Champions program, now the Youth Activators Lab, what the next step that we're trying to take is, we're planning our next cohort, which is going to start and kick off in 2025 January. So we want to look at also how can we bring in technology to be able to track the work that our volunteers are doing. We're looking at also, collaborating with other organizations, charities, CSOs, philanthropies. Let us scale the work that we're doing. And another thing too is to also showcase the work that volunteers are doing, just like what we're doing right now at this session. Volunteers are doing amazing work, and just like I mentioned before, that they cannot be paid, but however, showcasing the work that they're doing, their talents, the things that they've been able to learn is very, 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 very important. And I want you once again to check the chat box. I've inputted the link, so please download it, read it up, and I want you to be inspired. I want you to be inspired. There are people that they've taken action just by listening to another person's story. So be inspired, get involved. There are some organizations in the chat box that are saying, oh, you can actually volunteer with our organization. So reach out to them. What are your interests? What is your passion? Make sure that you're able to, 2025 is starting. So you want to be part of an organization, you want to be part of a social cause, doing something, taking action, and also drag your friends, drag your family members, drag your community into it. So thanks so much, everyone, once again. And don't forget to download the case study. The link is in the chat box, and you'll be able to read up on it. Thank you. Over to you, Oluwapelumi. Okay, I think our host is muted. Hi, Oluwapelumi, can you hear me?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Boluwatife, for that beautiful. Kindly download the case study in the chat box so you could get inspired, by knowing, reading about the story of other persons who have volunteered within the community and, contribute significantly to community development. And moving on to the next thing we have on our agenda, which is the interactive session. We're going to be shifting to an interactive session. There is this saying, or I do say this, that no one can tell our story better than ourselves. So you can share your story better than anyone, right? So we are going to be given an opportunity to participate. If you would like to share your volunteer experience, how it has been for you, what is your story when it comes to volunteerism? What story do you have around their volunteerism experience? And Deborah Adelaja, she would be the one to handle this session. But before we do that, I'd like to read out a bio so that we all could. All right, I'd like to read out a bio, okay? All right, so Deborah Adelaja Deborah is a junior program associate at She Lead Africa, where she plays a key role in shaping programs that empower young African women. As a project manager and global humanitarian activist, she is a young Nigerian advocate passionate about humanitarianism, particularly in the area of child education and well-being. She has dedicated herself to educating young ladies on the importance of education and their overall well-being, creating platforms to establish quality education by providing basic amenities for conducive learning environments. So ladies and gentlemen, please, with a virtual clapping ovation, kindly welcome Deborah Adelaja as she takes us on the interactive session, which will give you an opportunity to share your experience and your story surrounding volunteerism. Thank you. Deborah, you can take over, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Oluwapelumi. Thank you so much. Please, can everyone hear me? Can you confirm if you can hear me, Pelumi?
Yes, Deborah.
All right. Thank you so much. Honestly, we've been having an amazing session. Pelumi, you have been doing an amazing job. And a big thank you to our panelists. Honestly, that was such an insightful session. So yes, this is honestly always the best part for me in most events, the opportunity to be able to share your story, share your experiences. And I know that I have vibrant volunteers on this session today. So I know that people are ready to share their experiences. I don't want to call us and then I'm having to beg anybody to want to share. So start putting your stories together, because this, like Pelumi said, this is an interactive session. We've heard from panelists, we've heard from everybody. Now we want to hear from you. You've been listening to us for over an hour now. We want you to share your experience. And one thing I will tell you is that don't ever let opportunities pass you by. When there's an opportunity for you to share your story, talk about yourself, you take it. Like, you grab it, yeah, because you never know who is listening to you. You never know who you're going to connect with. So for me, my experience volunteering, I think one thing I learned about volunteering is that you're building a ladder of value. So for volunteering, you could have people that volunteer for 10 years and all of those things. But the thing is, you're building a ladder of value, meaning that you're building a community, people that you're meeting new people in that space, you're volunteering here, volunteering there. And the truth of the matter is that the reason why people would want to work with you continuously is because you're bringing value to the table. You're not just a volunteer that is in for the money. You get, because there's some people that, volunteering is for what they want to get in return. But you're volunteering because there's something that you want to give. There is that passion that you have in what you want to do. You believe that there's something that you have to bring to the table that before you get to find it in another person, it's going to take you serious searching. So when you're coming to volunteer, you know that, okay, you're bringing in your all. For me, volunteering started in 2020 when I was in my undergraduate studies. Yeah. And then because I was studying history and international studies, we began to learn about non-governmental organizations, what they are doing to help the community, what they are doing to also help the government. You get the things that the government are not able to fully grasp and do for the community. You see that non-governmental organizations are filling those spaces. So I began to learn that in school, and I was like, no, I don't want to pass this word like breeze. You get, that breeze you just go, nobody really sees that you're there. I want to be a person of value. I want to bring something to the table. I want to be remembered for something, even if it's in my small community. Let people be able to point that, oh no, this person was able to do this, contribute this in this particular community. So 2020, that's when I began. Okay, you know that there are people that say that you don't necessarily have to be a founder and all of that to be able to contribute. That is very true. But for me, there was more of a burden to build something. You get to build something, to be able to promote education in that particular aspect, because I had a very big vision. And the truth of, they say that if your dreams don't scare you, I don't think you started dreaming. You need to start dreaming more. So for me, that's where it began. And then I began to also, beyond my organization, that's another thing I want us to know, beyond your organization, volunteer to other things. What you're doing is you're building skills. Like I said, you're building a community. People begin to know you. You begin to meet new people. You learn. And you be a person of value. All right. So this is my experience. It has been such an amazing one, volunteering and even working with Nigerian Youth STD. Now it is your turn. I want to hear our stories. So I'm coming down to the comment section and I want to see who is going to be the first person to volunteer to speak today. Okay. I'm waiting. I already said that I don't want anybody hiding. I want everybody to come out and be willing to share your experience. Tell us your story. Where did you start from? How is volunteering like even at this point? That's what I want to hear. So who's going first? Okay. I'll call Fumilayo Shodimu. Let's have you.
Thank you very much. Good day, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can, Fumilayo.
All right, thank you very much. So my name is Fumilayo Shodimu. I'm an educationist, a trained and certified teacher. So I started volunteering this year officially. Although there are some volunteer jobs that I've done in the past during my NC level, but this year I started volunteering with ALAS Nigeria. And what they do is that it is a non-profit South African organization that give access to people to learn tech skills, digital skills. So I started volunteering with them, I think May. Yes, May. So just as you say, like volunteering starts with value, what you can give to the organization that you are volunteering with. So what they do interests me. Like I love to impact people, especially it is what they do not have knowledge of and how it can make them better to contribute to Nigeria as a whole. So that it's not everybody that will japa. Even if we japa, at least let us, yes, now, let us give value to our nation so that everywhere we go, something of impact that we have done to generations that are coming up. So for me, that is that. And one thing I've learned while volunteering is that things that I did not know that I can do, when they give me tasks, see me doing it, and the feedback I get, so it has always encouraged me, and I've become more better version of myself. Yes, the growth is evident.
Thank you so much, Funmilayo.
I started when I volunteered, and to me, I can say that it has been also good. So I started this year, so I'm open to more volunteering opportunities, how I can impact like the social impact and the value creation. So I pray the Lord will help me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Funmilayo. Thank you so much. I think one thing I took from Funmilayo's story is the fact that you begin to even learn more than what you can do. You might think that, oh, you're not so good at something, but because you're volunteering in that space, you build expertise in that thing. Before you know, you become a boss in that thing that you think that you did not know so much about, or how to go about it. Yeah, so let's have Justice. I saw Justice and up. Yeah, Justice, you can unmute. Justice, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Justice.
Good afternoon. Yes. My name is Justice. Sorry, I'm joining the program from Port Harcourt. I work as a yes. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity to be among the people learning from this platform today. It's really been a wonderful one. Opportunities like this where I learn to enhance my ideas in relating to volunteer. I don't miss it. I always appreciate it. My volunteering experience started in 2019 when I volunteered with Dean Initiative. The Dean Initiative is a Port Harcourt-based NGO that focuses on actualizing the 17 blueprints, SDGs of the Vision 2030 of the United Nations. I went for the program. It was a very good one. Most people, volunteers, came for the program too, and directors of other programs, other NGOs were there. I went for the program. I brought that. I was committed to it. I was strong and up and in. From that place, from that program alone, so many doors, so many opportunities came. So it was not an easy one. Combining it with my education, combining it with my work. Most times, I don't even have the opportunity to go for those things. That is if you are volunteering and you are combining it with so many things, it's very distractive anyway. But if you are committed to it, the sky is your limit. But the more the challenges come, the more I learn my lessons. As it stands now, from 2019 till this date, I can tell you I volunteer with more than 5 organizations. I have been invited to Ghana, I've been invited to Italy, I've been invited to Botswana to volunteer on issues, volunteer. Yeah, that is very, very, very wonderful. And as it stands now, I'm working on developing my own NGO. These are inspirations I gathered from volunteering, and I became more committed to it when I realized that it's a non-payment. Nobody's paying me for it. I'm doing it for myself and for the society. So that is one thing about the NGO. Don't put it first. That's one thing about volunteering. Don't put entitlement mentality at first.
Thank you so
Just
much,
do it that
Justice.
nothing is coming out. It's your own. You are doing it for yourself and for the society. Thank you so much for the privilege. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing, Justice. Honestly, like Justice said, it opens opportunities for you. Honestly, we've heard Justice story. Justice has gone around the world. But yeah, that's what volunteering does for you. It opens more opportunities for you. So we're going to take in 2 more people, but please let's try as much as possible to watch time and just speak as fast as we can. So I saw Momo's, and after Momo, we would have Mr. Christopher. So Momo, let's have you.
Good day, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really, really grateful. Well, I would say I've been volunteering since my undergraduate days at Kogi State University since 2017. And apart from value creation that everyone has been mentioning, I've learned a lot. One, communication, the networking, the experience, exposure. One thing I always say, I love putting smile on people's faces. That's the reason why I volunteer. So in any opportunity, I always come there, especially in politics, especially in cultural exchange and whatever. And also, when you volunteer, you are helping yourself. I know the opportunities from volunteering. The recent one is I've been into yearly Young African Leadership Initiative called 51. This has been from my experience as a volunteer. So in all ramifications, you are not just only getting value, but as well you are helping yourself. I know this volunteer have definitely opened.
Momo, you're muted. I am not sure I heard the last thing that you said before you muted.
I think volunteering has really opened way to me for different, opportunities. What you are iterate still West Africa region.
Thank you so much, Momo. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. So because of time, we just have Mr. Christopher. And please try as much as possible to share your stories in the chat box, and we can also share your opportunities to everybody. Yeah, thank you so much. Let's have you, Mr. Christopher.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mr. Christopher Wolabi Otusonya. I am into fashion. I produce t-shirts, sportwears in large quantities. Now, and I reside in Ikodu, Lagos here. The volunteer I made recently, I got to understand something that is good for one to volunteer. Actually, I do it personally. We went to Akure. There was a program there, Global Entrepreneurship Festival, organized by Dr. Sumi Smart Francis of AYE. When we got there as a volunteer, I just decided to go because I've not volunteered once for things like that. Getting there, I was being directed to the CCU, that is a crowd control unit, at the help desk. And there was a challenge there because many people were coming. It's a global event. People were coming there to take their tickets, but the laptop they are going to use there was no internet. They were all complaining. No internet, this and that. And the program is on. And I have my file with me that can control, that can take about more than 20 devices. So there was a man there. The man is trying to explain to them that nobody should share him an hotspot. And I told him, I said, hello, sir, let me give you my Wi-Fi. He's surprised. I said, I have. I now bring it out. I gave him the password. He used it. Then I now told those that were there are about 20 of them. I said, let me share it to them, that I have enough data. I gave it out to them. They were all surprised.
Amazing.
So that was what I did as a volunteer. I just did it. The first day, the second day, the third day, I did it. I stationed myself there to make sure that everything went well. Okay, in the last day when we were having a meeting together, I don't know that the very particular person I first shared with is the immediate junior brother to Dr. Sumi Smart Francis of AYE. I don't really know. Then when we were talking, he now said, Oga, it seems I saw you when you shared the data. He said, yes. That is a very good one, that they don't even have it in mind that they will need an internet in that particular place. He now said, Shebi, this is my first time of coming. I said, yes. He said, they are going to introduce me to Dr. Sumi Smart Francis himself. I said, wow. He said directly.
Wow.
Okay, I don't even say anything. All along the line, they now continue to trouble me that I should get a report. They must give a report, this and that. I said, fine. So I gave the report. When I now gave the report, when the following week, that is last week, Friday, when we're having he was having a meeting with us. So he now called me.
Yes, sir.
He now called me that, are you so person? I said, yes. He said I should explain what I did. I now explained to them. He now said that's very good one, this and that, okay, they are to give gifts to people that are really participated, that have done well, this and that. So out of about 800 people or 700 people that they listed, 78 people were selected. And among all, I'm one of them that was selected to get a gift from them.
Amazing,
Then I now know
amazing,
that.
amazing.
So I now know that even volunteering is always good with open mind. Even the students in my place, because
Very
I
true,
have a
sir.
practice. Hello? Hello? In my
Yes, but with you,
office
sir.
here, in my office here, I have this Lagos State graduate internship placement program. Students, the young graduates that were being posted to my office here. So some of them, they don't really have it in mind. They are looking for a kind of, let me get a work where I'm going to work. Then I started to talk to them, take their burden upon myself to make sure that they really understand what they are doing. Because the spirit of volunteerism in me now increased. And it makes me to say, let me join this program today. If I can have anything to offer for a volunteering job with this youth program. So that's just it all.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Christopher. Honestly, that story was really, really exciting, because I believe that made us to understand that don't just do it because of what you want to get in return. Do it because you want to do it. Do it because it's from your heart. You understand? You're doing it for the good of others. And you just never know the opportunity that will come out of it, just like Mr. Christopher, without knowing that, okay, somebody was looking at him, or there was something to be like something to get in return. He did it from the love in his heart to these people, and then you can see the amount of opportunities that began to open for him. So yes, I believe that with all of this experience, we try to understand the importance of volunteering. As much as the stories to what you get in return, even when you volunteer, whether you do it because of it's from your heart, because it's something you're passionate about, or even because you want to get something in return. What I want us to do is that whatever that you're passionate about, make sure that you're a person of value. I think that's what I started with. Be a person of value. It's only a person of value that will be remembered. Believe me, nobody, even if you swept the floor or something, that was your contribution. It's because you probably did it to the best. You understand? They say whatever is worth doing is worth doing well. So whatever you are found doing, whatever work you're found doing, even as volunteer, like as a volunteer, ensure that you do it excellently well. And yeah, just be a person of value in all the spaces that you're found in. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for sharing. We see everyone that has shared in the chat box also. Thank you so much. I'll be handing over to Oluwapelumi now. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you. Oh my God, that was really amazing. You know, it was really amazing to listen to people, diverse story, what your story has been when it comes to volunteering. And it's still good to know that Justice, your volunteering has taken you around the world. And Mr. Christopher, thank you so much, sir, for sharing your story. I know a lot of persons on this call today would have picked one or two things and be encouraged, as well as, inspired by your story to also put their best foot forward when it comes to volunteering. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been such a great ride, with everyone today. We've had quite an amazing session, getting insight from well-rounded people and sharing of our story. As a serial volunteer myself, I really, really, really think that the best way you can build your capacity as a young person in Nigeria or in any part of the world is by volunteering. When you volunteer, you have the opportunity to build your capacity without expecting anything in return. And when you build your capacity, it makes you a value-added person, somebody who could join a team and bring something significant to the table. So I hope that at the end of everything today, we all are going to believe in this core, encouraged, inspired to go into the world in our different community, to take on volunteering and, build ourselves to become a value-added person in the society. So, wow, awesome. You all will agree with me that, it's been an educative and insightful, fun-filled session and event we have had today. The Network International Volunteers Day 2024 has been nothing short of amazing. And as we come to the culmination of today's event, I'd like to welcome Praise Okezie the Communication Associate at the Nigeria Youth SDG Network, to give the closing remark as well as the photo session. Thank you, Praise. The floor is yours.
Okay, hi everyone. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Please confirm you can hear me and you can see me. Okay. Thank you to everyone for joining the conversation. It's been an amazing time here. We've had a lot of things to talk about: the photo session, the feedback session, the question session, the personal storytelling session. It has been an amazing time, and we are super excited that you were able to join the conversation. We are super excited. Thank you for taking out your time, despite your busy schedule, from when we started by 11 a.m. till 12:37 p.m. We are super excited. You're all here. You joined from the beginning to the end. From all of us at the Network of Youth for Sustainable Initiative, NGOs, SDGs, we are very grateful and we appreciate you. Whether you volunteer with NGOs, SDGs, or you are volunteering with another organization, a network, a community, whatever it is, what we are focused on is that, are you leveraging the platform or the organization or the network to give back? Are you giving back? Are you making an impact, something sustainable, and are you making a difference even as a Nigerian youth? And we sincerely appreciate all of you. Just before we run along, right, we'd like to take a brief photo session. So wherever you are, I want to see your beautiful, your handsome faces. I want to take a photo session. Boluwatife, please, can you help us out with that? Just turn on your videos as much as possible. Oh, I can see Temitope Angel. Thank you for joining. Malik, you're really cruising where you are right now. Thank you for joining the call. I see Rahim, Tafiok, Olumide. I can see you. Omemo Ejum. Apologies if I didn't get that right. Solomon John, your video has been on from the beginning. Thank you so much for joining the call. We see Oluwatomi Singh. Oh, we see you, Blessing. Paulina Peter, hi. Olumide, hi. Undule Favor, hi. We see you. Oh, if I want to call everybody, I don't think I'm going to get, I don't think I'm able to call everyone. We see you, Meg F4. You're looking beautiful. Alice is actually making her hair, but she joined the conversation. We appreciate all of you. We see you, Okweyemi Ogundeji, Victoria Ayodele, Esther. Bolu, please notify me when we have taken enough photos. We see a lot of you who took your time to join the call. Mukhtar, thank you, Mustafa. Lawa Faisat, even though your video is not on, we appreciate you for tuning in and listening. Oluwa, Oluwatife Sofola, Peter. Yes. Oh, we have a lot of this video coming on. Ido Abdul, thank you for turning on your video. Dozie, we see you. Looks like you're not in Nigeria. We see you. Thank you for joining the call. Thank you. Please ensure you follow NGOs SDGs across our platforms. Subscribe to our newsletter, Conduct Newsletter. That is where we share special stories and updates for young people. Make sure you subscribe. The link is on our YouTube channel. Salome Azaya, we see you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining the conversation. And please feel free to share the insights, the learnings from this session. Tag our speakers from Miss Africana. Please tag her, to Annie, to Tafiok, each and everyone who spoke. Feel free to tag them on social media, tag NGOs SDGs. We want to know that you didn't just join, but you've been able to get one or two things out of the session today. Thank you. Boluwatife, are we good?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you all. And from all of us at NGOs SDGs, it's a wrap. See you. Bye.